Good day, everyone, and welcome to Business Africa. I'm Ruth Lago. Here are the stories.
Levier important de l'économie ivoirienne, c'est l'objectif visé en 2025 par la Côte d'Ivoire. Alors comment lever les fonds en ces temps de pandémie mondiale et faire de ce projet une réalité?
In Uganda, could silk be the white gold of the future generations, which will reduce the dependence on coffee? Our correspondent
a rencontré de nouveaux producteurs qui vivent
met new producers who live mainly on sericulture. Co-working spaces have become the most popular places in Libya, invested in by young entrepreneurs. These meeting places open the way to creativity and the multiplication of startups. Welcome once again. Let's take a look at Côte d'Ivoire as the country continues its tourist mold before the implementation of its sublime project Côte d'Ivoire. Assini, the seaside resort, is the new showcase of this project. With its 5-star hotels and luxury villas, the city is now the place for tourists and a much more affluent Ivorian class. Assini, a tourist town located about 80 kilometers southeast of Abidjan. With its coconut palms, sea breeze, and fine sands, Assini is home to numerous hotel complexes with a backdrop of heavenly scenery, very popular amongst well-to-do Ivorians and foreigners alike.
Aujourd'hui, le tourisme
Today, domestic tourism is much more targeted. No one can travel abroad for vacation. Everyone is forced to stay in their own country, hence the advantage we have. We're really happy to see a certain number of customers coming to our hotels every day to enjoy them. Paradise on Earth, Africa's Central Bay, the beautiful Assini, once a fishing village, is the ideal relaxing getaway. However, Covid-19 has hit the town's activities with a vengeance. Actually, COVID has had an impact on our operations because during the lockdown, everyone was at home. It wasn't easy at all. And when we reopened, we had to cut back. And now, as you can see, it's almost noon, but there aren't even any customers. Assini has become more accessible to visitors of more modest incomes, increasing its economic potential in line with the Ivorian government's strategic goals for the tourism and leisure sector, whose contribution to the nation's GDP went up to 7.3% in 2019.
We are on a picturesque beach of Assini, the Ivorian town which could become the favorite destination of all tourists in West Africa.
Yannick Djanhoun, Assini pour Africanews.
In 2018, a new tourism development strategy called Sublime Côte d'Ivoire was revealed. It should enable by 2025 to place the country in the top 5 of the most popular countries in Africa, with 5 million visitors, and pave the way for the creation of 650,000 jobs, including 230,000 skilled jobs. More concretely, the Minister of Tourism and Leisure announced that he had collected $11 billion in pledges. This vast program was initially estimated at 3,200 billion CFA francs, or about $5.4 billion. So what's the status of the project? We'll talk about it today on Business Africa. Mr. Siandou Fofana, the Minister of Tourism and Leisure. Good morning, and thank you for joining us from Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your platform.
The COVID-19 pandemic has dealt a serious blow to the tourism and leisure sector in many African countries. What is the impact of this crisis on the tourism sector in Côte d'Ivoire?
I think that the situation in Ivory Coast, due to the coronavirus health crisis, has had a strong impact on economies at the international level. But our country has not remained in this deterioration or folded our arms. The Ivorian economy is performing well, and being one of the 27 countries that escaped recession and one of 7 countries in Africa, we occupy the 3rd position. However, many hotels are struggling to fill up, with demand dropping by 70 to 80% in the Abidjan area and just over 60% in the interior of the country. The cumulative effect of this is that there has been a slowdown in the operations of many companies in the sector. But the state has put in place a program that will help revive the sector, and there is no doubt that this will boost activities.
What is being done to reach your 2025 target during our unprecedented times of a global pandemic?
Obviously, this crisis has slowed our momentum. We were at cruising speed, as you mentioned in your introduction. The two roundtables in Dubai and Hamburg, which have mobilized $11 billion in foreign direct investment. Unfortunately, today, everything has come to a standstill. And given the fact that everyone is watching the situation with a guarantee fund, we are working to create the conditions for a resumption of activities with the establishment of a guarantee fund. And in addition to this guarantee fund, something that would allow us to mobilize foreign direct financing and make things happen. We want to also ensure that several hotels are built for Cannes 2023. But besides, we are preparing to go in September. Our country will have to be the tourism capital of the world.
The free trade area has been in place since January 1st, with a common market of several billion in prospect. Could this economic area not help to lift the brakes on regional tourism?
It is important for us to achieve the dematerialization of borders so that there is free movement of goods and people in Africa, and also that Africa can be traversed more and more by Africans themselves. It is to this end that the African Union is thinking of setting up a tourism organization which would have all the ministers of our states who are in charge of tourism and travel to meet so as to discuss the prospects of dematerialization and air connectivity issues on the continent, particularly the means of communication, to make Africa accessible to Africans. And this will make it possible to consider and analyze the cost factors that make African destinations more and more expensive, to the point that many are unable to afford and give themselves the pleasure of visiting the continent.
Mr. Siandou Fofana, thank you for answering our questions on our Business Africa program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
And we're back with Business Africa on Africanews. In Uganda, more and more producers have turned to sericulture. The silk industry could produce $400 million a year if government commitments to the sector are honored. Meanwhile, on a lesser scale, small-scale farmers are already benefiting from their crops.
This is where the sericulture value chain starts for silk producers in Uganda. 14 acres of mulberry plantation just outside Kampala, where the Namasumbi National Sericulture Resources Center is located. Silkworms feed on these leaves and farmers are already benefiting from the project, which is implemented by Treaty.
My children are at school. I pay fees and buy necessities at home.
With an acre of land, a person can start business. The piece accommodates up to 4,000 stems of mulberry that matures in 6 months to produce 4 boxes, which can sustain worms to 100 kilograms of silk cocoons.
A person with, say, 6 kilograms of silk cocoon is able to get 1 kilogram of silk, raw silk yarn, and that can give us a meter of silk fabric.
When the world's major silk producers stopped growing mulberry, it opened opportunities for countries like Uganda that have vast land to cultivate it. Silk production is a new venture, but people are learning the process fast.
We feed the silkworm for 30 days. So the first 22 days, they are feeding, the next, they are forming cocoons.
They are targeting 2,000 metric tons of silk yarn, which can be produced from 50,000 acres of land. The government plans to inject $190 million into it. If the investment continues for half a decade, $400 million will be earned every year. It will create 20,000 jobs spread across districts.
We have procured the equipment for post-cocoon processing. What we are looking at is the equipment which will dry the cocoons as soon as you harvest.
This facility covers 1,400 square meters of space, and it's where the factory will sit once the machines arrive. An estimated 350 kilograms of silk yarn will be produced out of here per day.
Faced with power, internet, and water cuts in the Libyan capital, co-working spaces are multiplying, such as Nokta, First Center, Space 340, Hive Space, Masaha. In these new places, typically young customers come to seek ideas to nourish their creativity.
Co-working has become increasingly popular for those needing space to do business in Libya. The country faces frequent blackouts and internet cuts after a decade of war. That's why managers have devised solutions, providing those needing to connect online with backup generators and more. From the beginning, the establishment was of more interest to entrepreneurs and owners of small, medium and large enterprises. The co-working space offers an environment that suits their work. We formed a community for freelancers and entrepreneurs, and this center became a point of connection between big investors and businessmen and small project owners for them to invest. The three-story building is on a busy commercial street in the heart of Tripoli, but inside its sleek glass facade, one is offered peace from the honking horns and noisy traffic. The facility's offerings also include private offices, meeting rooms and shared spaces, or quiet rooms with high-speed internet and secure lockers.
That's all for today on Business Africa. You can find the entire program on our website, africanews.com. See you soon.